Welcome back, it's Mike, and this next particular CD is probably the shortest one of the bunch. Probably we could spend several hours on it, but I don't want to drive you crazy and drive you nuts in the process. Because the one thing we've discovered about real estate people the most is they hate keeping track of anything. Now that is a common sales problem. Salespeople have never been known for their ability to keep track of things. But we did discover in the early 1980s, which for some of you was before you were actually born, that when a real estate person keeps track of what they do, we can then look carefully and determine what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, what they have to work on, how to improve, and more importantly, we can discover why they're doing the business they're doing. So the simplicity of tracking numbers is so critically important to a business. Now again, for those of you in Premier Coaching, you have the numbers analyzer at your disposal. Interestingly enough, we still have fought the battle that only someplace around 65–70% of all of our great Premier Coaching clients actually use the numbers analyzer. 30% never use it. We can't figure out why. We work our hardest to get you to do it, and we can't get you to do it. And of course, for all of our one-on-one clients, we have all the forms available in your workbook so you can start tracking your numbers and work with your coach on those numbers. Let me give you a few points regarding tracking numbers. So again, remember that the ability to track numbers and look at what you do is one of the most important aspects of building a business. So again, our first point, the fastest way to learn who you really are as a real estate salesperson, your strengths, your weaknesses, and your levels of efficiency, and what it takes to succeed is to track your numbers. Now think about that sentence. There's a lot in that particular sentence, okay? The fastest way to learn who you are as a real estate salesperson, your strengths, your weaknesses, your levels of efficiency, and what it takes to succeed is to track your numbers. That really does summarize what a good business sales career is all about. The ability to find out what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, how efficient you are, because most agents are terribly inefficient. Let me give you an example. When we made the decision to help our clients start tracking their numbers back in the 80s, what we discovered was a lot of our clients that were good, productive agents were going on, say, 10 listing presentations and listing 4 or 5 properties. So one day I said to an agent, do you know that only 42% of the time when you go on a presentation, you actually get a contract signed? You know what the agent said? Well, how do you know? I said, remember I asked you to keep track of how many presentations for the last 60 days, how many listings you took? And he said, yes. Well, I said, well, I figured it out. It was 42%. I said, that means 6 times out of 10, somebody else gets a commission check instead of you. Well, that bothered him a lot. I said, well, now let's take a look at what you're doing on your listing, because we should get you up to 70–75%. So 7 times out of 10, you get a contract signed when you make a presentation. So I said, there must be some weaknesses in what you do. Well, we discovered this person didn't pre-qualify. That would be a weakness. We discovered this person never used the listing presentation, although they said they did. That would be a weakness. We discovered this person really had no answers to the objections that they were getting. That would be a weakness. So for 6 months, we worked on those 3 issues. And guess what? By the end of the year, the person was at 80%. Well, now going on 10 presentations, gets 8 contracts signed. Here's the best part about it. Now listen carefully. The same amount of time is invested in both series, 10 presentations. And if the average commission check is, say, $4,000, instead of getting $16,000, the person was now getting $32,000 once they discovered their weakness, or in essence, they discovered their levels of efficiency. And of course, as I said, tracking your numbers does tell you what it takes to succeed. Now, we know that most agents are numbers challenged. I mean, it's just common, okay? Now, there's 2 issues here. One is the fact that your number's challenged. I can appreciate that. Second is you're just too lazy to track what you're doing, or in essence, you're not doing anything and you don't want to admit it, so you say you're too lazy to track your numbers. See, remember, tracking your numbers gives us your strengths and weaknesses. Tracking your numbers tells us really who you are. So at the same time, I tell people every single day, whether you're in Premier or one-on-one, track your numbers every day, okay? Turn them into your coach and prepare to learn from them. See, the numbers don't lie, okay? See, do you want to build your business on some form of reality, or do you want to build it on fantasy? And it's so often, and it's so often that we hear real estate people that will say to us, well, I'm really doing a lot better than what it looks. I said, well, how would we know that? Well, I guess you don't know. I said, of course we don't know, because you won't enter your numbers, or you're not telling us the truth with the numbers that you have. Guys and gals, either you prospect X number of hours per week, or you don't. Either you make X number of contacts, or you didn't. Either you generate X number of leads, or you didn't. Either you convert those leads to appointments, or you don't. Either you go on those appointments, or you didn't go on those appointments. Either they signed a contract, or they didn't sign a contract. It took X number of listings to get one sold, and it always works out to be about the same. So if you don't have any listings, you can't get any listings sold. This is called reality. Why so many people want to deal in fantasy? I'm not really sure. So our fifth point on this particular CD is don't complicate the process, okay? Just track your numbers. Don't complicate it. For those of you that are on the Numbers Analyzer, we're always amazed at this. We'll get an email. I'm trying to enter my numbers, but the box isn't big enough. Under listing presentations, I had 12, and I tried to type in TWELVE, and it won't fit. Numbers Analyzer. How about writing the number 12? We complicate things. Now, once you start tracking your numbers, you and the coach will work on understanding the ratios within your numbers. And they are a great measuring stick that can be used to build your business. See, for example, if you have 10 listings taken and 2 listings sold over the course of 60 days, that tells us there's either a real big economic problem in town, could be, or maybe your pricing isn't what you think it should be. If your expiration rate on your listings is running 5 out of 10, either A, you're not doing anything to get them sold, B, you're overpricing them, or C, listen to this, you could be taking listings for less than the 6-month period of time it takes to get them sold. So, when your numbers are tracked daily, the results will offset the emotional response that you have to your business. See, numbers are logic. Numbers are logic. Real estate sales is a somewhat emotional business, but numbers are always logic. And the more logically we look at our numbers, the better chance we're going to have. So for those of you that are incredibly, and some of you are, numbers challenged, we just say, do the following. Just track the number of hours you prospect. Just track the number of contacts you make. Track the number of presentations you go on. Track how many listings you took. How many of your listings sold. How many buyer sales and how many closings. See, it's not complicated. If you set your goals around your numbers, then guess what happens? And you keep the numbers in front of you, you can see progress, or you can see where you have to work to improve on that progress. The 10th point that I want to give you on this particular CD is find some accountability partners within your office, within your coaching program, within your mastermind group, maybe role play partners that you can report your numbers to every day. I know that most of us hate having to report. I know that most of us do not like having somebody else saying, hey, wait a minute, you didn't do your job. But if you have accountability partners, it can really make a difference. See, by tracking your numbers, you'll also know who's referring you business and how much each client is worth to you. When you don't track your numbers, you really don't understand the value of your past client centers of influence. Now, remember that tracking your numbers tells you where you've been and based on those numbers, where you're going. You need to know where you're going. I would say that the vast majority of the best agents in the nation, at least 75% of the best agents, will do most of their business during 2 to 2.5 quarters of the year. See, when you track your numbers, you know what is the best 2 quarters of the year, because we're trying to make this a good year where you're working 11 months instead of only, say, 6 or 7, meaning you're there all the time, but you're not productive and not working. So spend some time each day monitoring your numbers so you can make the necessary adjustments to your schedule and to your skills, okay? And then I think probably one of the most important things is to say to you that you got to keep your numbers current. I mean, you virtually, as much as you hate to do it, you got to keep track of them virtually every day because it's the best tool for improving performance. The last point I'll give you on this particular CD, it says there are 2 ways to increase your efficiency. Increase the amount of numbers you do daily, And then second, of course, increase the quality of those numbers that you do daily. So 2 issues for efficiency, the amount and the quality. You can't improve the amount or the quality unless you track your numbers. So as painful as this particular CD is for each of you, listen to it time and time again, and listen to your great coach when they talk to you about tracking your numbers. And for goodness sakes, remember, when performance is measured, performance always improves. Look forward to talking to you on our next CD.